Now let's go over how you add an assessment to a course or find an existing assessment, which will allow you to enter SLO assessment data into each section you're teaching. When you first log in, it should load up the current semester that you're in this case spring of 2017, and then a list of all the courses you're teaching. And then you have the option to either add an assessment if you want to create a new one, or if you've already created one in a previous semester, use the Find Assessment tab. Then you'll see any existing assessments you may have already loaded into the course, and then where you'll enter the scores, which is in the scorecard function over here on the right-hand side. I'm going to start by clicking Add Assessment. It's going to ask me to enter an assessment name. Just to make it easier for me, I like to enter the name of the course that I'm creating an assessment for, and the name of the assessment. For example, midterm exam. Then I usually type in a similar description in the description box, but you can add as much detail as you would like. You do have to type in something into this box. Then we've pre-populated it with a few examples of assessment types. Pick the one that's most appropriate for you, so I might go with major mid-course assessment. Then you need to make sure you click the Add Reflections template. So click on that and then select LPC Reflections. This is what you'll do after you've entered your assessment data. You'll type in some information into this box that is a note for yourself and other faculty in your discipline about what you're thinking of changing in your course, if anything at all. Click Add. Your reflections are now attached to that assessment. The activity name doesn't usually come into play. What we encourage you to do is to cut and paste the same information in the assessment name into the activity name. And the same thing for the assessment description, cut and paste it into the activity description. That way it lists exactly the same whether you're looking at a list of the assessment names or the activity names. It's also pre-populated with a generic rubric for the LPC 0 to 4 point scale. There are a few other scales you can use. We strongly encourage you to remain using the LPC generic rubric. We've selected that so that it matches up to a grading scale of A through F. Then you can select the number of SLOs you want to tag to that assignment. It may be that you have an assignment that assesses multiple SLOs. If that's the case, you can increase that number. But again, it makes your life a little bit easier if you make one assessment and one SLO. Then you're going to click the Generate Rubric template at the bottom. What you're going to see is that 0 to 4 point rubric that I was just talking about. And it says no demonstrated achievement, below average, average, above average, or mastery. If you would like, you can change these to something that includes more description that's useful for you. So you have the ability to modify these. It'll just be modified for this assessment. It will not modify them for assessments you create in the future. The next thing you need to do is you need to link this assessment to an SLO. If you click on this Link SLO button, you'll see a list of assessments that are already attached to that course you're working with. Select one of them. And then you have two options. You can either save this to your personal library, which is using the Save button. That means only you can access this assessment. Or you can save and add to the library of shared assessment. That means that any faculty member in your discipline will be able to use this same assessment. Please note that if you have a very large discipline, you could very quickly end up with a very large library of shared assessments. So just communicate with other faculty in your discipline to decide what is most appropriate. In this case, because I don't want to bog down every other instructor who's teaching this course, I'm going to select the Save button. That way I can use this assessment. Then you'll see it appears right here in the Psych 1 DE1, Psych 1 midterm assessment. But I also have a Psych 1 section DE2, and I want to use the same midterm assessment for this other section. So in this case, I'm going to select the Find Assessment button. It's going to come up with a list of all these filters. These filters for me kind of get in the way at the moment, so I'm going to select the Hide Filters button. And then it's going to give me a list of all of the assessments that I've already created, and you can see the most recent one here at the very bottom, Psych 1 midterm exam is the one I just created. I'm going to click that checkbox and then select the blue Add to Section button. Now what you can see is that my midterm exam has been posted in my section DE2 also. Now let's talk about how you go about scoring your students. There are two ways you can score. There's the scorecard view on the left-hand side here, or there's the rubric view. The scorecard view is a little bit easier to use for our purposes, so I'm going to use that. What you can see is a list of students and some scores that I've already started entering. You can just click on them. In case you make a mistake, you can just click on a different box. And again, this is using our 0 to 4 point rubric. If a student did not complete an assessment, you can just give them an NA score. Okay? And then at the very bottom, you're going to see you can either save or save and continue to reflection. If you're not done scoring all your students, you can use the save button. But you can use save and continue to reflection once you're done, which allows you to then answer each of these questions, talking about what your results are so far, so if most students received a C or higher, I might say that they're doing very well and I don't plan to make any changes. No changes planned. But you might also decide that in one particular section of your midterm, the students didn't do very well, and so now you're going to add a new assignment that allows them to better work on that skill. Once you're done, you can submit and share this, which allows your discipline coordinator to see what the reflections are, or you can submit and share anonymously.